Every man knows this scene. A woman across the table, eyes blazing, voice raised, finger in your face. You, sitting there with a small smile, pretending you're calm. On the outside, you look composed. On the inside, your nervous system is on fire. Tonight, I want to talk to the man who's stuck in that chair. The man who keeps arguing, keeps explaining, keeps apologizing, and somehow always ends up being the villain in a story he didn't even write. Because if you don't understand what's really happening in that moment, you won't just lose the argument, you'll slowly lose your mind, your self-respect, and eventually your desire to date at all. You've probably heard videos saying men stay single for years because the dating market feels rigged, so staying home becomes the rational choice. That's only half the picture. The other half is what repeated conflict does to a man's psychology. Let's start with the truth nobody tells you. Most men don't leave when the relationship becomes painful. They leave when the relationship becomes pointless. The yelling hurts, sure. The accusations, the threats to leave, the silent treatment. But what really breaks you is realizing, no matter what I say, nothing changes. So you stay at the table a little longer. You argue your case like a lawyer. You bring logic, screenshots, timelines. You quote what she said last week. And every time you do that, you make one fatal mistake. You treat an emotional storm like a scientific debate. You think, if I can just present enough evidence, she'll calm down, see my intent, and we'll be okay. But that's not what the argument is about. It's not about the dirty dish, the text she saw, or the tone you used this morning. It's about control. Control of the narrative. Control of how you see yourself. Control of who is good and who is bad in this relationship. Here's what happens inside your brain over time. First, you start walking on eggshells. You rehearse conversations in your head before you have them. You edit your jokes. You censor your opinions. Then you start doubting your own perception. Maybe I did overreact. Maybe it was my fault. Maybe I am too sensitive, too distant, too cold. Finally, you detach. You go quiet. Not the powerful silence of a grounded man, but the numb silence of someone who's been punished for speaking for too long. This is usually where men either collapse into people-pleasing, or they swing to the other extreme and swear off women completely. Neither of those is real peace. One is self-betrayal. The other is self-protection that's turned into a prison. So let's talk about the shift smart men make. The shift from arguing with her to watching her. Imagine the same scene again. She's raising her voice, listing your crimes, rewriting history in real time. You feel that familiar urge to defend yourself. Instead of jumping in, you do something new. You zoom out. You stop listening to the words and you start watching the pattern. Ask yourself 3 quiet questions in your mind. 1. Does she ever take responsibility when the roles are reversed? 2. Is this conversation about solving a problem or about punishing me? 3. If I behave toward her the way she's behaving toward me right now, would she call it love? You don't need to say any of this out loud. Just notice what your body feels when you ask. If your chest sinks, if your jaw tightens, if the answer to those questions is a heavy no, you're not in a relationship. You're in an emotional court where the verdict was written before the trial even started. At this point, most men either explode or shut down. You've probably done both. You explode, you say something sharp, and now the whole argument becomes about that one sentence. You shut down, and now you're emotionally unavailable, a stone wall, a child in a man's body. So I want to give you a different option. Calm, active disengagement. Not pouting, not slamming doors, not disappearing without a word. Just this. You draw a line between conversation and combat. Conversation sounds like, I felt X when Y happened. Can we figure this out? Combat sounds like, you always, you never. You're just like my ex. If you were a real man, you would. When it turns into combat, your job is not to win. Your job is to refuse to play. That sounds like, I'm willing to talk about this when we're both calm. Right now, it feels like you're attacking me, not working with me. I'm going to step away for a bit. Then you actually step away. You leave the room, or the call, or the chat. No drama, no insults, no counterattack. You protect your nervous system like it's your home, because it is. Now, this is the part that hurts. Her reaction to that boundary tells you more about the relationship than the last 6 months of arguments combined. A woman who can love will eventually calm down and say, okay, I went too far. Let's talk when we're both sane again. She might not do it perfectly, no one does, but she'll move toward repair. She'll show some humility. A woman who only wants control will do the opposite. She will escalate, she will ridicule you, she will call you weak, childish, manipulative. She'll threaten to leave or post about you online. That's not passion. That's not, I'm just a fiery person. That's emotional warfare. And your job as a man is not to fix a person who chooses war. Your job is to recognize a battlefield and decide whether you want to keep living on it. I'm not here to tell you all women are like this. They're not. There are women out there who know how to argue without destroying, who can be angry without being cruel, who can say, I'm sorry, without choking on the words. But if you stay with someone who treats you like the enemy long enough, you'll start treating yourself like the enemy. You'll doubt your instincts. You'll question your basic worth. You'll look in the mirror and see a man who must have done something wrong just to deserve basic respect. That's how men slowly give up on love altogether. Not because they hate women, but because they don't trust themselves anymore to choose someone who won't burn their life down. So here's the real message of this video. I'm not telling you to run at the first disagreement. Conflict is part of intimacy. I'm telling you to pay attention to the pattern of conflict. Does she ever apologize first? Does she try to understand you, or does she only try to win? Do you feel safer after a fight, or smaller? If the answer keeps coming back as smaller, you have a decision to make. You can keep arguing, keep proving, keep auditioning for the role of good man in her movie. Or you can quietly step out of the theater. You can take a season to rebuild your frame, your friendships, your focus. You can learn how to set boundaries without shaking. You can choose solitude as a training ground, not as a life sentence. And when you do meet someone new, you walk in with a different standard. Not, is she hot enough? Not, will my friends be impressed? But, can I disagree with this woman and still feel respected? Does my nervous system relax when I'm around her, or prepare for war? If you get that question right, you won't stay in that chair again, with someone screaming inches from your face while you smile like everything is fine. You'll stand up. You'll walk away from conversations that go nowhere. You'll stop arguing with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. And that is when dating stops feeling like a battlefield and starts feeling like a choice. If this hits something in you, stay with this channel. We're not here to teach you how to win against women. We're here to help you stop losing yourself. Take care of your mind, take care of your frame. And remember, the loudest person in the room isn't always the one who's right. Sometimes it's just the one who's most afraid of your silence.